All right, hey there guys, Sam here back with another video. This is a departure from the series that I've been focused on here, but this is a new feature we've added into our footprint indicator. I'm going to touch a little bit on some of the things that I've highlighted in the last couple of videos here because that is just desperately in need of a part two. Based on the price action we've had the last couple of days. So we'll touch on that, but that'll be a dedicated video that'll be coming before the end of the week. All right, so what we're going to do here now, this is by request from a number of our members, customers, members within our Discord. They saw a video and they liked it so much. Now this is, I'm going to pull this over here so you can see this. The YouTube channel is Chart Fanatics. Many of you may be familiar with them. This very, very popular, 238,000 subscribers. So many futures traders pay attention to what these guys are doing. And this guy has a great reputation. He's very good. He's considered the #1 scalper in the world. And so a lot of our customers saw this and said, hey, can we get something like that? So TDI Dev took a look at it and said, hold my beer. So let me show you what we've got here. Before I get off of this, this is a long video. It's 3 hours long. But find the time to watch. This is very, very well done. This guy's excellent, good teacher. I think you'll get a lot of value out of this, and I think you'll find yourself, you'll be very drawn to what we've done here and be looking to add it into your arsenal as well. So with that said, again, Chart Fanatics, trade live with the #1 scalper in the world. Okay, right, so I'm going to push that off to the side here for a second now. So what we have here, I've got a 1-minute chart of the NQ. Same setup I've had the last couple of videos. Of course, I always have our toolbar on it. I have our initial balance indicator with the 15-minute opening range highlighted. We're going to take that off in a little bit. And then down below, I've got Hume Delta, and then our volume indicator. Now, again, as I often will say, it doesn't need to be our stuff, right? You could use Native Ninja if you've got the order flow. You could use their Hume Delta. You could use somebody else's Hume Delta. It's not about having a full suite of our indicators, right? But we are going to focus on our footprint indicator. That's how we accomplish this. Now, so I mean, the last couple of days have been pretty remarkable. So this is an unusual week to be trading, right? I've done very little trading. The volatility is so high, but that's beside the point. Some of you may be trading this. You'll note today, right? It's much like yesterday. Massive range. We go 2 times the initial balance here, but despite that, right, you would think, God, right, there won't be a squeeze the whole day. Look how many times throughout the course of the day we go into squeeze conditions, right, where we just have a contraction of volatility, but from that, right, we get expansion. So it distorts a little bit to your eye because the range is so huge. But from these little consolidations that you get the expansion, contraction, expansion. Or you could think of it this way: balanced to imbalance, balanced to imbalance, right? So it depends how you want to think. It doesn't matter. It's just semantics. So as we look at this here now, as I bring this down here, let's get to the point at hand. So that's a 21 EMA with a squeeze indicator on it. Again, I use that as a reference for when to not trade. That's me personally. I don't enter when we're in a squeeze, but that's beside the point. I make a point of showing that to you because if you don't recognize or you don't spot it with your eye, having something to identify when we go into consolidation or squeeze condition, which is a contraction of volatility, you can find yourself going, God, what the hell? What is going on here? Well, and then of course, it looks like a slow grind actually, but it was bursts. It was bursts of buying, and of course that's a nice segue to what we're going to get into. So, if you watch that video, which I would encourage you to do, you're going to see that one of the things that he focuses on is high volume. They're represented as volume bubbles on the chart. Well, the way we have gotten to that is through our footprint indicator. Now, I actually have the footprint indicator on the chart, right? You can't tell it, but it's here. Right? You can see it up here in the drop down. So let me show you what we're headed towards. So if I turn this, let's turn this on. Okay, now what you're going to see is what looks like something would be hard to make sense of because we have it's so compacted, right? I did this, right, so you could get the full day in. But when I open this up, I think you'll see that there will be some areas here where this can be quite useful. as we look at it here. And let's dig in a little bit in terms of, first let's take a look at let's take a look at how we create these. So it's very straightforward. The larger the bubble, the higher the volume. Green being buying, red being selling, right? So it seems pretty self-evident, but I just had to mention it. Now, my partner, TDI Dev, he prefers this with hollow candles, and you might as well, where you can really see the bubbles here. Maybe the solid candles block that a little bit. It's just personal preference, right? But here you can see, oh, pardon me, I should note here, the other thing I have on is just the native Ninja fair value gap indicator. Again, of course, you could use ours, right? But again, I try and keep it to a minimum of ours, so it's not about trying to pimp you 20 of our indicators. You could use the native Ninja fair value gaps, which the fair value gap is a fair value gap, right? So there's no magic to it. So with that, so now here you can see some application here where this could be quite useful. Now, you're going to understand all of this much better, rather than me go for 3 hours. If you watch that video, even if you just watch sections of it, I think it'll be very, very useful to you. So let's create this from our footprint indicator. So in order to do that, I'm going to pause for a second. Oh, I can do it over here. Let's see. Let's do it right here. So here, same chart. I've just 1 minute on the NQ. We're recording this on Tuesday the 28th. And this is just the default layout, right? So this is, I've just preset number 1 is just bid ask. Now there's a few things on here. I think we've got POCs and exhaustion prints and stacked imbalances. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through these here, because if you're working with this and you click default, or if you're trialing this, that's how it's going to land with the default. So what we're going to do is turn a bunch of things off. So we're going to turn the bar stats off. We're going to turn the bar markers on. Anything that's on in this, we're going to turn off. We're just going to get everything off. So none of these show, right? Off, off. Let's get all of these off, off, off right here. So you get the idea. So let me pause here and I'll get through the rest of them. Okay, so here you can see it as raw as it can be. So essentially everything's turned. I want to turn off the summary table as well. Let's get it. So just raw bid ask, right? We have the candle and bid ask on either side. Now what we're going to do to create the bubble template, for lack of a better term, we're going to go down to our volume bubbles here and look at it. Now, when I turn this on, I've got a couple of choices. So you can see here as it loads here. You've got a couple of different ways that you can set this. Either auto, where it's going to, you'll look through the numbers here, it's going to do it automatically for you, or you can set it yourself. Now, again, there's no right answer here. My personal preference here, I note for the NQ, I like to set to fix it, but for the ES, I prefer the auto, right? It's just do a little trial and error and decide for yourself, right? You can have too many bubbles, right? There's no question about that. But this is, when I go to the fixed volume threshold, I'm using Fabio, I think that's his name, Fabio's guide. These are close to the references that he's using, right? So you can see that. Okay, we don't have so many bubbles that it's unusable, but you might want them a little bit bigger. You might want different sizing. Oh, here I've got something. I've got one of the delta signals on here. So if you'll note here, I've got another one here, and then I've got the volume profile on over on the left-hand side. Let's go ahead and take that off as well. Let's take that off. All right, so you're just raw. Okay, so now what we're going to do here, we're going to go to I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to go to left cell, and here I'm going to go none, and then I'm going to go right cell, and I'm going to go none. All right, so now all I have here, and then again, because I think it's easier to spot them here, I'm going to go to the hollow candles. Oh, to do that, I'm going to have to turn off paint bars off as well. Okay, let's give it a second here to reset. Okay, there we go. So now you start to see, okay, well this may indeed be quite useful. So let's put it in context here. I've got, hang on, let me get rid of these. Okay, I had a few delta signals on. But before I get off of that, I should note here that you could certainly use this and then start adding in. So vertical stripes, I think I had stopping volume and absorption on here, but you could use any of these working off of a candlestick. Right. So again, this is, you know, when you look at this, you might say, well, why do I want to do this, right? If I've got all of the bid ask and all of those enhanced features that are available to a footprint chart, right? All of the detail that I get from a footprint chart. Why do I want to do this? Well, I would propose to you that this is a nice complement. I would not suggest that you abandon everything you get from a footprint chart, but you might run these in side by side, right? Most of us, right, we're all so conditioned to looking at candles or bar charts that the switch between the two, right? It's not like if you switch over to footprint charts, you're going to lose, you know, all of that, what would I call it? Right? All of the screen time that you spent learning how to read candlestick charts. So this is a nice complement to that. I think that's the best way to consider it. You might run. In fact, I'm running them side by side. So that just another way to think about it. And you can see here that you know, this can be really quite useful. Now, is it enough by itself here? Well, probably not. Right? But if you start adding in a few things, you might find that there's some real value here. So I'm going to pop over to where it's already now set here. And I'm, you know, again, the range is so, God, it's so massive today. It's kind of hard to bring this all together. But you'll notice here, I mean, here's a decent example here. We're coming out of this squeeze. Now remember, there's always a little bit of a lag with a squeeze because to create the squeeze, there's a little bit of a lag, right? So we're consolidating, and then, okay, Bollinger goes inside Keltner, and we get a squeeze here, but then as we come out of it, it's out a little bit early before the squeeze is over. So you can see here, this is not a bad example here, where we're coming out of the squeeze here and we're leaving behind gaps, right? Now gaps, I think most of us are well conditioned now to recognize what a gap is telling us, right? That's large buyers, right? So because retail, we can't create a gap, right? But institutions can, right? The algos can create a gap. So as we see the gap here coming out of this, that can be quite useful. And what the volume bubble is giving us is insight into, okay, who's in control here? So clearly, as we create the gap, first coming out, we create the gap, then we retest, right? There's just a slight retest here, and you can see it's all buyers here that are in control of that move here. Now there's a little bit of a pushback, and you know that's where, note here, we're coming back to this gap. You've got gap, right? So you've got plenty of potential support here as these gaps get mitigated, right? We don't get, this one goes untouched, I think, until the end of the day. Again, we're into a squeeze here. It's a little bumpy, and then as we come out of the squeeze here, if I bring this over, now we're going in towards the end of the day. We come out of this squeeze, and what happens, right? Big gap, right? So coming out of it, and then we see, of course, as you would anticipate seeing, right? If we've got a gap, now we're seeing big volume on the buy side coming out of this. We get up here, oh, feel sorry for that guy, right? So that's the buy at the high. And then as we come down, well, a couple of things happen. Of course, we come right to the first fair value gap, right? We might think, okay, well, if this is going to continue, well, not one, we're kind of running out of time, getting in the last 20 minutes of the day. If there's going to be a pop here, you would anticipate that it would come here because we're also hitting the 21 EMA, which is kind of natural. The market is drawn to it magnetically almost. So are we going to hold here, and are we going to get a pop going this direction? Well, no, right? So it becomes an inverted fair value gap. We invert the fair value gap. You can see the test here. Interestingly, it does it right on the underside of the 21, right? 21 is always a good reference to have, 20 or 21, right? There's no magic to it, right? So I just use either a 20 or a 21. So we come to that. And then as we head down, you can see the aggression here. So now we're getting gaps on the way down, and you see sellers in control, sellers in control. We come to the last fair value gap here before we launched, the launch gap that took us out of the squeeze. We get a little reaction there, not enough, right? Buyers are not enough here. We're coming into, much like all of our indicators, to really get some appreciation of how you might trade with this, how it would look in real time. Of course, as I do with everything, I would strongly encourage you to trial this. Now, if you own the footprint indicator, right, this is just a free upgrade for you, right? This will just be a new feature that's added to it. I'll come back here, right? If you do the update, you'll see that the volume bubbles are now in here. Again, you don't need to use them exclusively. It's just that's kind of what we learned over here, you can see how he's using them as identification for potential pivots and entry and where you might anticipate support and resistance. He's also using it with, let me see if I can find a good example. Again, just to stay, let's see if I can find something. God, I mean, these moves are just so insane. One thing that he uses regularly in that video, and we thought, well, okay, if we're going to add the volume bubbles, let's add this as well. It is within our volume profile that's available. This is our fixed range volume profile that's within our toolbar, right? Again, this first thing I put on every chart I open. Oh, here, let's just do it from here. So I'm going to draw this up to the top. All right, so I'm just going to do this last section. And what you can see here now, in addition to the volume profile here, I've got delta on one side, right? So we can see where the aggression was as we look here. So, I mean, obviously, right, this, oh, here, let me do it this way. One thing that I'll often do is just highlight, let's get that low volume node here. Right, so I've got POC. I might even do this. In fact, I think in the next version, these are going to extend, because I put that request into TDI def. So I'm sure we'll see these extend. But I'm just taking value area high, value area low, and then the POC, and kind of watching as we come back to that. That would be an area you might anticipate a bounce, and you'll note here, right, sellers just hammer right through it. Again, right, you know, you can see the same thing on your charts here. We bounce at this fair value gap, back up, right, we hit this one, and then down we go. Not to recap the whole day. I just want to show you that new feature in here. So we're getting volume on one side and delta on the other. So you can see, oh, if I open this up a little bit, you can see somebody got left hanging up here as we see this aggressive buying up here, the very high delta up here, as we see buyers trying to get one last kick out of it, and then they just get crushed on the way down. But you can see how this could be as the market starts to move down, and particularly once we blow through this fair value gap here and then we invert it. Boy, anyone long up here is in deep trouble, right? So then down it goes. So that should give you something to consider. And I would, you know, like any video here where I'm walking through at the end of the day, of course, hindsight, right, is a big part of it, which is why I always encourage you to trial it yourself, right? Again, if you own footprint chart, a footprint indicator, it'll be just a free update for you. If you have long thought, oh God, you know, maybe I try some of that, you could trial this. Again, it's always a 7-day free trial. You could trial everything on the chart here for 7 days. Work with it, trade with it. You know, maybe not, you know, full working your account yet. Maybe trade it in sim until you get used to it. It's, you know, it always looks easier at the end of the day, right? So when the market is moving, get used to whether or not you see some value here. I think you'd be very hard pressed if you do this. If you watch this video and then you apply it to your chart and maybe do a little back testing, maybe use our manual back tester, as I demonstrated in the last video that I did on the trend lines. It's just more powerful when you do it yourself than if you watch someone. You don't get the same connection to it watching someone do it as you do when you do it yourself. You need to get in there and get your hands on it, or get your mouse on it, as the case may be. You need to see it. And I think even a manual backtester, if you're strict with it, it can be very effective in building conviction, right? So when we see a fair value gap fail and then invert, and you've got fair value gaps on the other side, hey, that might be an area you want to consider taking a trade. I mean, would we get down to that next fair value gap? There's $520. Now, NQ, you could do this in MNQ, right? Again, and I'm doing NQ simply because Fabio was doing the NQ, and with a little, you know, he's a scalper, right? So he's not in the market long. If you're trading size, I mean, that kind of move right here, that's you know, $500. You know, not bad even for a one lot. So I think that will give you some things to consider. Again, I would encourage you to do a little experimenting here. Whoops, I do that all the time. With volume bubbles here as to whether you like the fixed threshold. Well, here it's not a dramatic difference. Or fixed, right? But we're giving you control over it with fixed or auto, right? If you want to keep it simple, just go with auto. It's not, you're not going to lose anything. You just, you know, the better you get with it, you may want to. It may be too many bubbles, right? What you don't want too many, so that you like every candle is a bubble. You want some, like, I mean, here's no bubbles here. Big bubble there, right? So again, that's why I would encourage you to get it on your chart. Then we go to the end of the day. Now, I will. Let me just show you, for those of you that saw the last video here, we had a couple of challenging days. Let's just go with this, because this, I'm going to set this up for the next video that's coming, which is part 2 of working with our auto trend lines here. I'm just going to give you a little tease on this. Now, what we did, market has a funny way of doing this. On the video I posted over the weekend here, where we're looking at breaks of trend lines. Well, we come into the new week and we gap up and we just go here. This is, if I open this up here, this is Monday. You know, I'm just doing it on a 5-minute, so we don't have so many trend lines here. So there's a little chop at the open, and then we just scream. Well, these are all new all-time highs. So there are no downsloping trend lines to be breaking. So it was just up, up, up all day. And same thing, squeeze, expand, squeeze, expand. So really, until we had some overnight here, we didn't have anything really to break on the way up. It was just all upslope. Now, the focus on the back testing that I was encouraging you to do on over the weekend was all on breaks. Well, the other side of that is when the trend line holds, and that will be the next video. So this would be just a little tease of it, because you can see here, hold, 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 close, right? We don't get any breaks until the overnight, and then we go again today. I mean, if you're just using trend lines here, there's no trend line to work with. Now on a 5-minute, you'll get some on the 1 minute, but on the 5-minute, again, it's all straight up. So there's nothing to be breaking. So keep that in mind if you did a little testing with the manual back tester and the auto trend lines. There was nothing to break, right? It's kind of strange timing of when I released that video and what the price action looked like, as both the ES and the NQ went to all-time highs. There's no downsloping trend lines to break, but there are plenty of trend lines where they held, and that will be the flip side and the part 2 of that sequence, right? So there's a little teaser on that. There's the info on the, let me get this out of here, on the bubbles, which I think is a really nice feature. Really adds a lot, and I think that video, as you watch Fabio go through it, I think you'll start to see, and I think it'll be very educational if you haven't seen it already. So there you go. Okay, there's an update. You can look for part 2 on the trend line series to come before the end of the week. That's the plan anyway. And a little teaser here, we've got like a Halloween sale is about to launch. I think it starts tomorrow. Okay, with that, I'll wish you guys good trading, and we'll catch you next time.